Welcome, everyone, to Indie Interactive, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. My name is Bree Noble, and I am here with you today on Indie Interactive to talk about how to focus more on music and make progress by only doing 3 things each day. Now, last week we talked about burnout. And I had an entire, kind of prescription for burnout. You can figure out if there's the signs that you're seeing, your signs for burnout, how you can make some changes. And one of those changes I talked about was doing just 3 things each day. And you guys really seem to resonate with that. So I thought I would expand upon that today and talk about doing just 3 things each day that are going to help you to, focus on music, make sure that you're not like overwhelmed by what you need to do, but also being able to say, okay, I did those 3 things. Now, if I don't feel like doing more, that's okay. That's okay. I'm good. Or if I do, then, you can do more, but not feeling guilty if you can only do those 3 things and then you just feel like you might be burnt out if you tried to do more. So I'm going to jump in here and see who's here right now and just say hi to everybody in the chat. So this whole new Zoom situation is making it harder for me to actually find the stream. So let's see how we're doing on, here we go. Perfect. Yay. So let me just pull this up here and say hi to everybody that is showing up. We got a plethora of people showing up already. Good morning to Carol and Molly and Adam. Great to see you. Let's see who else is here. We've got Mishi and Catherine and Molly and Carol and Adam. So great to have you guys this morning. So just let me know in the chat that everything is working correctly and you guys can hear me before I jump into the material. All right. I'm sure you guys would be letting me know if there were any issues. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and pull up my slides. But I thought since there was so much great response to this doing just 3 things a day, I thought it would be really helpful if I showed you guys kind of through my own week and examples. So I'm going to go through 5 days of my current week and talk about what I'm doing those days and why I'm doing them. And when I do that, I need to start with my goals. So as many of you know, if you're in the academy, I talk a ton about setting 90-day goals. So right now we're in quarter 2. We're smack dab in the middle of quarter 2. And I've got goals that I've set for myself for this quarter. I recommend to people that they set 5 goals for every 90 days. Now, me personally, I have 4 goals because one of them is the Profitable Musician Summit, which was hugely time consuming and a huge project. So I didn't want to set too many goals. Knowing this would be done about halfway through my quarter, I knew I'd be spending most of my time the first 6 weeks focused on the summit. And then after that, I would be focused on these other goals. So wanted to lay out for you my 4 goals. And then I'll kind of show you going through these 5 days of my week, how I'm spending my time with my 3 things that relate specifically to these goals. So obviously Profitable Musician Summit is one of my goals. Grow the Academy is one of my goals. Increase traffic to my website and get more publicity. So those are my main big goals. And I'm going to show you how over these 5 days, the things I'm going to focus on each day that are going to get me to those goals. So in the meantime, I just want to check in on see if everybody's doing okay in the chat. What I don't like about Facebook sometimes is it doesn't seem to update what's going on in the chat for me, which is great. All good. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start with yesterday because I tend to work pretty focused Sunday through Thursday, which is kind of weird, but usually by the time I get to Friday, Friday's my meeting day. It's my interview day. And I kind of slow down on the other aspects of my business. So I figured I would talk about Sunday through Thursday. So yesterday was Sunday. And so here are my 3 things. And the reason I'm going through these examples is there was a lot of questions last week about like, well, it all depends on how big the things are. And, how do we know how big these 3 things should be? I mean, they could be like answer 1 email, or they could be like do this huge project, right? So I wanted to give you an example of kind of the level of the things that I think fall into these 3 things and how long they should take you. So my first one was write and send my Academy newsletter that I send out every Sunday. Now I have an assistant that helps me put it together. I just need to kind of go over it, add my own thoughts, and send it. So for me, that took 15 minutes. That was an easy one, right? Second one was create slides for Indie Interactive. So these slides that I was doing right now. Now, it wasn't just creating the slides. I had to get the idea of what I was going to talk about, kind of come up with what I was going to say in the slides, and then create them. So I'd say overall, that took 30 minutes. And then the last thing was edit a training for Rick Barker's program. So Rick has asked me to add a training to his music industry blueprint about house concerts. So I'm getting that ready for him. And that only takes me about 30 minutes because I have a training I've already done, and I'm just going to editing up and getting it over to him. So as far as what these focus on, obviously the Academy, this Write and Send Academy newsletter is focused on my goal for growing the Academy. Indie Interactive to me just helps grow the Academy. And then Rick Barker's training, like that's helping me get out more into the world and more people know about me. So that is under my publicity goal. So those are the 3 things that I did yesterday in relation to this. And they took me about, let's just be generous and say an hour and a half. So that's my 3 things. Then after that, if I wanted to get other things done, I could, or I could say, okay, I'm all good. Like I can enjoy my Sunday. I spent some time cleaning out some cupboards and organizing some of the clothes in my closet. And, we had a nice steak barbecue and stuff like that. And I didn't have to worry about, I needed to get more work done. Okay, so let's talk about today. Today, my 3 things for Monday. And remember my goals. One of them is the summit, right? So I still have a few tasks related to the summit. And today I needed to send a summit email with the discount codes because people had asked, there was a discount for Gig Salad and for Bandzoogle and things like that. So I wanted to make sure to send that out to people before we got too far out from the summit. So that was something I did this morning. It took a little while because I had to gather all the links, but it probably took about 30 to 45 minutes to put that together. And then the second one is do this Indie Interactive right now, right? So that is also going toward growing the Academy. And that's going to take me about, probably all together, including like setting up the webinar and, actually executing it 45 minutes. So now we're at an hour and a half. And then meet with Greg about SEO for my website. So my friend Greg, you guys saw him on the summit. He is not just a musician and works with musicians, but he also has a design business and knows a lot about search engine optimization. So I'm going to be talking to him today about how to make my website even better and get more people to come to my website. So that's going to take me about an hour. So in these 3 things today, it is taking me about 2.5 hours of my day to do these 3 things toward my goals. Okay, so let's talk about Tuesday. So Tuesday, I've tended to kind of theme in relation to publicity because I have a class I'm taking and it's on Tuesdays, and I have an accountability group and that's also on Tuesdays. And so I've kind of decided to theme my Tuesdays around publicity. So I actually have a podcast that I'm doing tomorrow with Musical You, and that's obviously toward my publicity goal. I'm going to be on their podcast. Then I've also put down on my list of things to do to pitch 3 additional podcasts. So I want to get on a few more podcasts. So I'm going to send out some requests for that. And then I need to write a blog post for Reverb Nation. They've requested that I write for them. and I have a blog post in mind that I'm going to write. I just need to finish it. So that is the things I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I would say the Musical You podcast is going to take about an hour. Pitching to podcasts will take about 30 minutes, especially because I've already done some initial research. And then writing the Reverb Nation blog, that'll probably take me about an hour and a half. So altogether, that's 3 hours that I've got blocked off to spend on goal-related tasks. And those are my 3 tasks, and that's how they relate to my goals. Okay, let's talk about Wednesday. So, and I'm going to go through all these examples, and then, if you guys in the chat, if you want to make any comments or ask any questions about why I chose certain things, go for it. But this is kind of the teaching part of this. Is I just wanted to go through my examples here, and then we'll have some conversation in the chat. So on Wednesday, I usually send out an email about the podcast that I put out, which will actually be this one. When I create this into a podcast and edit it down, I'll send that out because I think people will be interested in learning about these 3 things and how they can employ them in their business. And on that email, I'll also talk about my upcoming masterclass, which is the Musician's Profit Path that's going to be coming up next week. So in that way, I'm kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm also being able to promote the Academy through that because that is what that masterclass does. So that's how that relates to that goal. That will probably take me for that email maybe 30 minutes. Then prepare slides for my expert workshop. So I'm doing an expert workshop on Thursday in the Academy about publicity. So this one is also related to my Grow the Academy goal, because the more that I contribute to the Academy, the more value I give them, the more I can talk to new potential members about the cool stuff that they get inside the Academy. So preparing those slides will probably take me about an hour, and then tighten up my masterclass slides. So I'm just wanting to kind of go through my slides for the Musician's Profit Path. I've done that a bunch of times, but I want to tighten them up a little bit. That'll take me about 30 minutes. So altogether on Wednesday, I've got about 2 hours worth here. And that's perfect because Wednesday I actually have the exterminator coming over, and I have to evacuate my house. So getting out of here by 2 o'clock is not going to be a problem because I only have 2 hours of must-do things before I have to leave the house. So that will be my Wednesday, and then we'll talk about my Thursday in a second. Okay, so obviously Thursday, as I said, I'm doing an expert workshop in the Academy. So I'm going to be running that expert workshop. That takes about an hour. Then I'm going to attend Caitlin's class, which is a class that I'm taking that relates to growing the Academy. So that's going to probably take about an hour to an hour and a half. And then I'm going to attend Selena's class. So today, obviously, this is my day of attending classes and doing workshops. I'll be busy doing these things on Thursday. And Selena's class is about my publicity. So that's how, this bottom one relates to my publicity goal, and these top 2 relate to the Academy. So that's going to take me probably altogether 3 to 4 hours because these are some classes that I need to either run or attend. So that will be my 3 things on Thursday. And you may think like, oh, well, it seems like you're not actually doing anything on those days. You're more attending classes. But, that's part of what we need to do to achieve our goals, is to learn. So that's one of the facets of achieving our goals, in my opinion. Learning goes hand in hand with taking action. So now that we've talked about 5 of my example days, I wanted to bring up a couple of things. So, beyond, sorry about that. Beyond, it's supposed to say, beyond the 3 things. If you have time, and hopefully you can schedule that in, because in all these days I've scheduled these things in as well. I do believe it's super important to have some kind of self-development scheduled into your day, whether that is exercise, whether that is reading, even like the classes I talked about that I'm taking on Thursday, you could count some of that as self-development if you wanted to. It could be, like I said, reading, could be meditation. It could be doing something that, will, like self-care, that kind of thing. To me, exercise really is self-care. But I think it's important to build that in as well on top of your 3 things. But if you can't fit that in, occasionally, if I have like a lot of other responsibilities to do, I have to say, I can't do my self-development today, but I'll make sure to do it the next day. But I do think it's important. I mean, for example, I can usually combine that. Whereas like on Sunday, I was on my walk, and I took a pretty long walk, like an hour-long walk. And during that time, I got the idea for what I was going to do today on Indie Interactive. So I kind of combined it because I was able to spend that time thinking and deciding what it is that I wanted to teach today. So I do believe that when you do self-development, it opens your mind, it helps you organize your thoughts, and it makes the things that you have to do much easier. Sometimes I compose my emails in my head while I'm exercising, and then it makes it a lot easier to write them. Or I start thinking about, what am I going to say in that Reverb Nation blog? And I start kind of composing it in my head and putting my thoughts together. And then when I go to actually write it, it's going to take me less time. Okay, and then there's the other thing, maybe the elephant in the room for most of you, which are these ongoing admin work, right? We all have this. I have a lot of this. But in order to not feel overwhelmed, I try to do a little bit of it each day. But again, like if I only have time for my 3 things, I do the 3 things first. The admin can wait unless it's like desperate. Or I can spread it out. There are emails I need to respond to, that kind of thing. I don't have to do those on a daily basis. I can fit that in when I have more time. For example, tomorrow, I looked at the things on my schedule, and they maybe only are going to take me 2.5 hours. Well, I've got the whole day tomorrow. I don't have anything else planned that I have to do. And so I can actually have time to get some of this admin work done. Whereas today, I have other commitments. I'm taking my daughter to the track to go running, things like that I'm not going to have as much. I have to go to the chiropractor, I'm not going to have as much time to do work today. So I might not get some of those admin tasks done, but knowing that I can get them done tomorrow is going to be okay. Or maybe I'll just tick a few of them off my list that will take me 15, 20 minutes. And then at least I'll feel accomplished in that area. But just know, like, we all have these admin tasks, and I don't want you to feel like they're weighing you down, but they're not so urgent that you can't put them off a little bit just to make sure that you get your 3 things done, because those 3 things are what are going to push you forward. Those admin tasks, most of the time, they're somebody else's agenda. They're not yours, and they're not pushing you forward in your career. So I'm going to jump in the chat now, but I wanted to find out from you guys, thinking about what are the 3 things that you're going to do each day, and in relation to your goals, if you have any questions on how to figure out what those things are, just let me know. If you have any comments or discussion, I would love to hear that. I know this is like a little bit shorter than what I usually do, but I thought it would be helpful to give you guys some examples. So want to say hi. Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, Carlene. Great to see you guys. Good morning to Beth. Good morning, Adele. Let's see. I want to see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Carol says Beth says she's on the treadmill. That is awesome. Look at you. You're combining the self-development, which is watching this, with or learning with self-development of exercise. That's fantastic. Good. Carol says this is so perfect for me. 3 small tasks per day. It's something I kind of do already, but hearing you, I know I can do it even better, more focused. That is great. Yeah, just make sure that the tasks that you choose relate to your 90-day goals, and that, like I said, you're not choosing tiny little tasks, like those admin things, like, oh, I need to answer this one email. That's not really one of the three things. It needs to be something that takes anywhere from, I'd say, 20 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on, and you don't want to have like three things that take an hour and a half. One of my examples, I had that one blog post I needed to write. It was going to take me an hour and a half. And then the other two things were going to take me 30 minutes or something. So I never had a day on that list of 5 days that those three things took me longer than 3 hours. And that was even an exception. It was usually more like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Carol says, this is awesome, practical, and very doable. Good. I'm so glad. Let's see. Oh, Carlene has her album release. Is it this week, Carlene? Adam, it's great to have you here. I think this might be your first time on Indie Interactive. Let's see. Adam says, yes, three things seem very doable compared to the laundry list. Yes, I know we can get these laundry lists that make us crazy. And that is what I'm all about, breaking that down, starting with goals and picking the things on the list that actually move you forward in your goals instead of feeling so overwhelmed by that. The laundry list version isn't working too well right now. Yep, I know. So hopefully this will be really helpful for you, Adam. Carlene says, yes, her CD release party is tomorrow. Woohoo. And she is just a tad busy. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm impressed that you showed up today. You should probably go get working on whatever you need to work. And keep in mind, like this three things, obviously you can't necessarily stick to that when you're in the middle of a launch like Carlene, or maybe you're doing a crowdfunding. When I was doing the summit, there's no way I could do just these three things, but I knew that it was going to be 10 days of hard work and then I could rest. So this three things is for an ongoing workflow. It's not going to work when you're in like a big launch mode. Let's see. I like the way you think through each task or event and figure out how long each one will take. Good way to plan. I think that's good because when you need to make sure your three things make sense. As I said, like if one thing is write and record a song, like that could take me days. So you can't choose things like that. You have to choose things that are actually doable in, let's say, under 2 hours, hopefully under an hour. Do you do that planning on a weekly basis? Yes. And I was going to mention that. Thank you, Carlene. And thank you guys for allowing me to do this session and do my planning at the same time, because it helped me plan out my week. But I do try to do this planning either on Sunday, or if I'm really busy on Sunday or, can't do it Monday morning, I do this planning. So I know every day what my three things are, and make sure that I can see them in Asana. And I've got in my mind, like, I at least need to get these three things done every day. There may be more things in my Asana, but I can push them forward. So a lot of times I'll go into my Asana and there'll be things that are in there because I've set up projects for each goal. And if I look through it at the beginning of the week and say, okay, this is not doable right now, like this is not one of my three things, I can push forward the due date. And that just kind of helps me keep it all organized in my mind. Let's see. Beth says, Bree, you are the queen of efficiency and productivity. You're a great mentor. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And trust me, I'm not always perfect on this. And sometimes I just say, you know what? Like, I can't even do these three things today. I'm just done. And it does happen every once in a while. So don't think that I'm always perfect on this, but this is what I strive for. Yes, long lists overwhelm me, Tammy says. Absolutely. Let's see. Would you please print out what you are showing us on your slides all in one place for us to use as a model? Absolutely. I can do that inside the Academy, Carol. I can just do a post that shows those things, or I might be able to import the slides. That might work well too, because it's a PowerPoint slide. So oh, you are so welcome. I thought it would be helpful to give you real examples, because at some point there's only so much I can say without giving real examples. And I realize that this is my business and not yours. But I think by giving you like, these are my goals and this is how each of these three things relates to my goals, I think you guys can translate that into where you're at, hopefully. So Beth says, I need to start this 3 things a day. How are you doing this while you're on the treadmill? You can't be typing this while you're on the treadmill. You must have taken a break. Let's see. Oh, she's on the elliptical. I'm impressed. Last exercise at PT and last day. Oh, great. That's awesome. She's almost done with physical therapy for her foot. Her physical therapy consumes an additional 13 hours each week. Wow. Since March 1st. From now on, just 7 hours a week. That's great. You're getting, let's see, what is that? 5 hours, 6 hours back. That's so awesome. That must be really encouraging. And yeah, I mean, 7 hours a week, like that's what we should be spending on exercise anyway. So in some ways, you're lucky that that's kind of built into your schedule. It's so much more easy for me to just kind of backslide out of my exercise, but you have to go. So that's kind of a blessing. Oh, Carlene says she's signing books that's great. So she's going to have her book on her merch table at her CD release party, and she's signing them as we're talking. That's great. That's the kind of multitasking I can get behind. We're all really stoked for you, Carlene. Wow, there's a whole bunch of support for Carlene and her release. I'm so excited about it as well. How about write second verse to this song I'm working on? That is a great task, Tammy. I really like that. That's doable. And I think, as you know, with writing, like we can't put writing in a box. It's much harder to say, I'm going to do it in 30 minutes, but you can make a very good attempt in 30 minutes. You can get a draft and, maybe then the next day, one of your 3 things is revise second verse, after you've written it once. But in some cases with writing, we just need to say, okay, 30 minutes is my limit. See what I can do in 30 minutes. And then bring it back as one of your tasks for the next day. I think that could be a useful way to do it. Mishi says, perfect balancing of inspiration and understanding. Great. You are so welcome, everybody. And good morning to Wanda, who joined a little bit late. So glad to see you. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on Indie Interactive. It's been really fun. And again, if any of you guys have suggestions for what I should talk about on Indie Interactive, I've got a few ideas of stuff coming up, but if something really strikes you that you could really need help on, just let me know and I'll see if I can work it in. And until then, you guys keep making great music, connecting with your audience and growing your business. Have a good day.